Hello, gang. I'm back. I'm still here. I'm still rolling. Uh, Interestingly enough, an earlier visit with a hospice nurse, when I asked for help in increasing my energy, she asked me if I drank coffee, and I said yes. But I said decaf. She says switch to caffeine and see what happens. So I've tried caffeine coffee and caffeine tea yesterday and today. And my goodness, my energy seems to be lasting longer. So, what should we talk about today? Well, I've talked about children that I love. I've talked about stepchildren that I love. But I've perhaps left out of my life the pets that I love. Now, I'm using the word pet here to refer to animals. I'm leaving out the form of pet that might, in some circumstances, be taken to mean female companions. In my life, I've had 3 pets. I once told my stepson, Steve, that I had 2, but I miscounted, or more correctly, I misremembered. My first pet came in 1946, 1947, when I was a freshman in high school, freshman or a sophomore, attending Elliott Junior High School in Altadena, California. I had pestered my father for a pet, for a dog, and he finally caved. And I was rewarded with a red short-haired dachshund named Johann Macduff Genke. Genke was the family name that owned the mother of Johann. Macduff referred to the manner of Johann's birth from the Shakespeare play Macbeth. He was from his mother's womb untimely ripped. Johann was born by cesarean. I think my father had a dog as a young boy, but he had distinct rules for bringing a dog home. And the first was that the dog would have one master. I was to be that master. That meant that the dog was to be sequestered in my bedroom for 7 to 10 days. And I alone would interact with Johann. I would feed him. I would clean up after him using up piles of newspaper. And I would be responsible for starting to discipline him. He was a fabulous, fabulous companion. My father went out of his way to instruct me that under no circumstances was that dog to ever be on or in my bed. I behaved my father, but my bedroom was actually a sleeping porch with screen windows and crank windows, window screens and crank windows on 3 sides. On the long side of the bedroom, I often had 2 or 3 of the windows open at various widths. I loved to sleep with the windows open, and particularly when it was raining. One night it was raining. I went to bed. Johann got into his little square thing designed for dogs, which was on the floor next to my bed. A humongous thunder and lightning storm came up. I have absolutely no conscious recollection that I in any way, shape, or form moved Johann from his bed to my bed. But when I woke up in the morning, Johann was under the covers, sleeping at my feet, where he slept until the fall of 1952, when I left for Knox College in Galesburg, Illinois. After I left, my sister was at Stanford, my brother was at Caltech, and Johann found a new home at the foot of under the covers in Auntie Maud's bed, where he lived out his life. He was a fabulous companion. 1180 Rubio Street, Altadena, was a block and a half from Rubio Canyon. And from Rubio Canyon, you could follow trails and climb up to Mount Echo and beyond to Mount Lowe, Lowe. And many a time I made that hike with Johann, not on any leash. Johann was trained, I think, to hunt badgers, to go down the hole after badgers. That's why they were long and thin. And Johann loved these walks because anything that moved that was smaller than him, he attacked. He was a wonderful friend. In 1946-47, Elliott Junior High School's mascot was a Husky. Their football team was the single wing, and I was the tailback. Not many people today remember the single wing, but the tailback was essentially the quarterback. My sister felt that our team needed a mascot, so she got a thing that you slip on dogs to keep them warm when the weather's cold. And the colors are green and white, Elliott Junior High School's colors. She put a green E on each side. And even though our mascot were the Huskies, she would parade up and down the sideline during the football games with Johann, much to the delight of the people sitting in the stands, because both Johann and my sister were quite good looking. My next dog, who was a special companion, was a German Shorthair Pointer, ultimately named Princess, female. I was living with my second wife, Lynn, and her children, James and Jordan, and was out in the property was about a half acre. And I was out trimming bushes and noticed something of funny colors moving down the hillside. I walked toward it, and it came toward me, wagging its tail. It was a very dirty, very unhappy looking German Shorthair Pointer. I brought it to the house. My stepsons were wildly excited about it. Lynn was a lover of pets, and although we had only one bathtub in the house, Princess was immediately immersed in the bathtub, was scrubbed within an inch of its life, and came out and laid down on the front doorsteps and never left. We inquired of the neighborhood children whose dog this might be. They had another name for it, said they'd found it alongside Highway 280, and they thought that it had been hit by a car. But they already had two dogs at their home, and if we wanted what became Princess, we could have Princess. Princess was a little big to follow the suit, Johann's suit of sleeping on or in the bed, plus the fact that there was my wife. So Princess slept on the side of the bed right next to me. And at 5 o'clock each morning, she would put her paws on the bed and start licking my face. It was time to go for our daily run. And I liked to run about 3 miles a day. And before Princess came into my life, I would make runs. And oftentimes, particularly when coming up a hill, I might encounter a herd of deer, and they would often scatter, and sometimes they'd scatter toward me, and I got knocked down a couple of times by deer. Not with Princess. Princess ran in front of me about 15 feet in a zigzag pattern, and no animal, dog or deer, ever, ever, ever got close to me. And Princess was a bloody delight, just wonderful fun. Followed me everywhere in the house, would lay down on the floor in my office at home if necessary, and was wonderful comfort. Sadly, German Shorthair pointers suffer from hip dysplasia. And Princess fell victim to that disease. And after consulting with veterinarians, the sad decision was made that we had to put her down. So Lynn took the boys, which could have included at the time Scott and Jeffrey, because they would come and visit. And they went off in one car, and Princess got into my 1970 91170 Porsche T Targa, top open. Princess loved to ride in the Porsche, loved to ride in the passenger seat. And she sat there regally with her head out the window and her ears flapping. And I took her to the veterinarians for her procedure. Everybody was devastated by the loss of Princess. And I could never bring myself to develop an interest in having another dog. But Scott and Jeffrey decided that I should have a dog. At that time, I was dating Linda Ann Block, an incredibly beautiful woman. Now, I don't know how Scott and Jeffrey did it. I don't know if they borrowed money from Linda, or if they got Linda to give them money, or if they went to the SPCA. But one evening I came home from work in San Jose, and there in my house was a golden lab, a beautiful mature dog, suggesting that they probably got her from the SPCA. Not that you can do that these days. And well, my sons were delighted. Linda, bless her heart, was skeptical. And I didn't know what the hell to do. I really didn't. But the boys were so determined that I should have a dog, I decided I'd give it a try. Well, pretty soon, as long as the boys were spending the summer, or Linda was around, there was somebody to feed the dog, exercise it, all the things that you need to do when you're the parent of a dog. But then Linda disappeared, and my sons disappeared, and I was working my usual 10 or 12-hour shift at the law firm and had no idea what to do with the dog. By the way, we named it Travis, after Travis Air Force Base, where I was then attached as a reservist. It turned out, to my good fortune, that the officer, it was my duty to replace if we, as we used to say, the balloon went up, and the active duty staff judge advocate for the 22nd Air Force was transferred to a more combat-related position. I would be immediately recalled to active duty and would become the staff judge advocate at 22nd Air Force. The colonel had children about the same age as mine. And I tentatively approached him, and he was wildly excited about the idea, loved the fact that the dog was named Travis. And so Travis left my life. And I became petless as a father once again. But the experience of having the three dogs, particularly Johan and Princess, and the incredible love that my sons expressed by fixing me up with Travis, I can never forget. I don't think there's likely to be any more dogs in my life, but you never know. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to me. It's been a pleasure talking with you. And I think that if things go well with my producer and director, this may happen again. So have a wonderful week, a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk with you soon. Bye-bye.